This episode is brought to you by Muntins Malts, a company that is passionate about providing premium malts to brewers worldwide. For over a century, Muntins has been a leading supplier of brewing and distilling malts, offering the finest British malted barley on the market. You can experience the difference Muntins offers by joining a recipe receiving tier of our Trub Club, because every kit that ships out now includes premium Muntins malt. You know, we've known the Muntins crew for a long time, and I can tell you, friend, you're going to love brewing with their grains. Ask your local supply shop to carry Muntins malts, or homebrewers can join our Trub Club at homebrewhappyhour.com/club, be a part of the community, and come brew with us. Thank you, Muntins, for supporting our efforts and homebrewers worldwide. Today's show is brought to you by Hopsdirect.com. Grown in the esteemed Yakima Valley on the Pewterball family farm, Hopsdirect.com offers the widest variety of hops available online at incredibly competitive pricing. It's simple. They grow hops, they sell hops, and they ship hops straight from their family-owned farm to your doorstep. Producing the highest quality hops is Hopsdirect.com's passion, and they're proud to be an independent grower in the craft beer industry. Go to Hopsdirect.com right now and get what you need to make your brew day better. That's Hopsdirect.com. Today's show is brought to you by Imperial Yeast. You hear us gushing over Imperial Yeast all the time, and that's because their yeast performs for us in every batch that we brew. Imperial Yeast is adored by commercial breweries and home brewers alike. Their pitch-right pouches are jam-packed with over 200 billion fresh yeast cells, guaranteed to deliver flawless, fast fermentations every time. Imperial Yeast strains are grown by a team of pro brewers and home brewers who live to help other brewers learn more and ferment better. Join any recipe receiving tier of our Trub Club and get a free upgrade to premium Imperial Yeast with every recipe kit that ships out to you. Learn more at homebrewhappyhour.com/club and come brew with us.
Entertaining shows with content that spreads information and sparks discourse throughout the community. This is the Pearl Media Network.
Calibrating your gas regulator, techniques for achieving balanced hop aroma while minimizing bitterness, and converting draft system components to DuoTight. This is Homebrew Happy Hour, episode 394. Well, hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Homebrew Happy Hour. This is the show where we supply the answers to your homebrewing questions and discuss all things related to craft beer. And my friend, if you have a question you'd like us to discuss on a future episode, you could email me, Joshua, at homebrewhappyhour.com. Even better, though, you could text it in or call it in. Leave a voicemail to 325-305-6107 when I use your voicemail question or feedback, again, preferably a question, on a future episode. You get yourself a $25 gift card to catconnection.com. I'm one of your hosts, Joshua Stubing, joined as always by the Director of Operations at cmbecker.com right down there, Mr. James Carlson, as well as the President and Chief Keg Washer of catconnection.com, Mr. Todd Burns. Mr. Todd Burns, were you trying to interrupt me just now? What? Oh, were you coughing? Were you?
That was James.
Oh, no. Oh, your screen lit up. James didn't. That's why I didn't know who it was. No problem. Anyway, gentlemen.
I mean, yeah, say something negative to James.
Yeah. James, how dare you cough in the middle of a show? Do you know what show this is? I was telling James before recording, first off, 394, we're the week, like the second week of September is when episode 400 is scheduled to be recorded and published. It is incredible to me. We have made it 400 episodes. I say that, made it. Look, 6 weeks is a long time. A lot of stuff can happen between now.
Yeah.
a lot of stuff can happen.
If something happens to you, we can't produce a show anymore. I'll have to take half a day off and figure out how to
half a day off. I have to go on Upwork or Fiverr.com for an hour, and then found a replacement. Between AI and
people in Bangladesh, you're going to have me replaced in a minute, dude. Don't worry about it. But no, I was telling James, though, it's wild. I believe this coming February, so it's still a while, will be the 10-year anniversary of the first episode of Homebrew Happy Hour. After how many episodes was it that I took our 9-month-ish break or 7-month-ish? It was only,
I don't remember.
It was like,
I know those first couple of episodes were highly produced.
Rough. They were, and we did remember the first 2 or 3 we did in your shipping container on your property. We recorded in that corner.
I don't even remember that.
Oh,
Wow.
I do. We recorded right there. It was rough. Not to say that the current episodes aren't rough. We just have better lighting now. If you're watching us at youtube.com/homebrew happy hour, the dozens of you we've entertained. I do have some small talk before we get through our show. I'm not gonna predict it's gonna be a quick show, because every time I say that, I drag it out and it's over an hour. But these questions, they're real good. Only took 3, don't really have formalized feedback, so don't feel obligated, Todd, to stretch it out. And feel free to tell me when you feel I am stretching it out.
How come we didn't take 4?
I know I'm holding on to questions kind of tight right now, especially the voicemail ones, because we're running low. I pleaded at the top of the show. Now it's a win-win, guys. You ask good questions, I play it on the show, and get yourself. I have a ton of emails. I could have taken the 4th question by email. I do have a ton of emails. It turns out people that listen and or watch the show don't like the sound of their own voice. I can't relate to that, guys. I listen to my...
Yeah, I sound great.
Sound great. But kidding aside, so my email, you're right. I could keep taking 4 in email or text version, but you specifically, Todd, love voicemails, so I'm trying to appease you. So I did take 2 for this show. But yeah, we could really use y'all's voicemails. And again, that hotline is 325-305-6107. When I use it, and if it's not just total gobbledygook and I'm going to use it, get yourself a $25 gift card to techconnection.com.
I heard one of my nephews did a call in, and we haven't used that.
It was gobbledygook. It was gobbledygook.
Doesn't mean we can't use it.
It was gobbledygook. He was like, no offense, Josh, but blah, 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 blah. It was something bad about me. I don't think he called me bald, but it was something about my voice. Or no, it was about me saying the $25 gift card. That's what it was. He reminded me, remember Mark?
No, I like the idea of using his, because I'm not really going to give him a $25 gift
yeah.
card.
Oh, good call. So. Good call. You're right. You're going to give some 12-year-old a Tech Connection gift card. Or actually, brilliant for Christmas, give the 12-year-old a $25 gift card to Tech Connection.
Exactly.
Anyway, though, where was I going with that with his voicemail? Either way, I have some small talk to get through before we get into the meat of the show. First and foremost, friends, in case you missed it, it is still available right now to register for the Alt-Pokal 2024 Altbier World Championship. We'll be streaming it live in late October. You can go register now at altpokal.com. Even better, just go to homebrewhappyhour.com, click on the Alt-Pokal tab at the top of the page, get yourself registered. We're about halfway through applicants or registrants. We've had 20-ish people, a little bit less, like 19, sign up, get paid, gave me their shirt sizes and all that. So don't miss out on that. The earlier you register, not only do you reserve it, we're only taking up to 40. Alt beer is one of those styles I'm not convinced will necessarily fill it out with 40. I don't even think NHC gets that many total entries for alt beer around the country. So I'm not quite sure if we will fill it up, but who knows? It's still a long way away. But if you are thinking about it, you better start brewing it now, because October is going to be right around the corner we're about to be in August. When this publishes, this is publishing on August 1st. So make sure
we'll really be about in August.
We will literally be in August. So don't miss out on your opportunity. Altpokal.com, the Alt Beer World Championships. That's right, Germans. I'm calling it the World Championships because no one else has yet. So we're claiming that title. Also, because it is August 1st, I guess I could announce this. The recipe for members of our patreon.com/homebrew happy hour Trub Club are getting Todd's ESB. That's right. Todd took the ESB recipe we had and tweaked it, so I got to make funny artwork of him. I didn't send it to you, Todd, but you've seen this artwork before. It's you with the funny British hat and the little British mustache and the broken hydrometer in front of Big Ben. and the clock and all that stuff. Either way, if you want to brew this, and it really is an incredible recipe. In fact, I'd say, James, that when you guys brewed it on the Cooler Brew, which this recipe is a little bit tweaked from that ESB might be one of my favorite beers that's been brewed ever from the three of us.
Oh yeah.
Remember that? And the fish might be this big, but because we're so far separated, that was what, 5 years ago now? It was a while ago. But still, the way that turned out in a Cooler Brew, go figure. That was one of my favorite beers ever. People who have brewed our ESB give us great feedback. They do love it. So go to patreon.com/homebrew happy hour. Join a recipe receiving tier. Get this delicious kit shipped out to you. I wish I took pictures yesterday. The July kit shipped out this week, and I meant to take pictures of the premium welcome pack because we had 3 people sign up at the $50 tier, which is every month a 5-gallon kit. And I forgot how much people get in the premium welcome pack. It's the Kolsch glass, it's the shirt, a ton of stickers, a ton of swag from our sponsors, and when we have them in stock, hats. We ran out. So spoiler, no one got hats this month. But it's a crap ton of stuff. It's worth it, friends. Go to patreon.com/homebrew happy hour. If you join, I think at the 15 or above, you get the premium welcome pack. But if you're at that committed level of supporting us financially, just go for the recipes. You know you want to. So got that. And then that also means Brew Day Live for August is going to be on August 30th. That's the last Friday of the month. My pop and I at 10 a.m. Central on August 30th will be brewing the ESB. Come join us for all the fun and shenanigans in the live chat at youtube.com/homebrew happy hour. It's kind of funny, guys. My dad is overwhelmed because we don't drink beer fast enough, and so we're just overflowing. I told him I'll bring this batch we did. The real problem is there's IPA we have, and I'm like, I'll take it to James. James doesn't want it. Like, you're not. we're brewing these stuff.
Is that now? You say IPA, but it's
pardon me,
hazy, right?
Pardon me. No. It's a grapefruit pale ale. My apologies.
Pale ale,
you're
yeah,
right. I keep calling it IPA because it's juicy.
It's not very hoppy.
No.
I had some last night.
Well, and we actually can kind of dive into it later with the second question of the show, because it some of the techniques people use for achieving hop aroma and all that is something that this recipe kit did. It's not a bitter kit, but it's very aromatic. So
it's got a lot of late additions.
Yes, exactly. So yeah, we'll go into that on the second question. I've got Alt-Pokal registration. I said the Todd's ESB Brew Day Live. I think that's it. I didn't bring formal listener feedback, but I got a lot of feedback from people on the Horst episode. If anyone leaves any good feedback on that by voicemail, I'd probably play it. But I got a lot of text messages or comments on our Instagram, specifically where people said, Josh, great episode. Horse is the best, yada, yada, yada. But you gotta never bring that gong sound back again, ever. Please don't. I had headphones on. It scared me the first time you did it. Don't bring it back. So, of course, for this week, I've got the gong. We're going to start off our episode with 3 questions.
Hold on.
What?
I told somebody asked me if I would do some kind of a sign they could see when they're fast forwarding through your small talk.
Shut up. You're such a liar. Are you serious?
Yeah.
I know that's not true because if they watch us on YouTube, I put bookmarks for the purpose of them being able to skip chapters.
Okay.
Oh yeah, because I told you, people, especially on Reddit, where I won't dog on all Redditors, even though they're losers. I won't dog on them all, but one guy, after he said we're painful, they small talk too long. Have you heard of fast forward? Do you know what fast forward is? Like, just we have supercomputers we're consuming content on, and you haven't figured out how to fast forward? I can't hold your hand through this, friend.
I've tried. I cannot fast forward through your small talk. I've tried.
You're a boomer. That's why. Actually, we just figured out.
No, I mean when the show's live. When I'm on, yeah.
And real quick, though, sidetracking. I'm going to put the small talk before this, and I'm going to trick some people. You guys are actually Gen X, and your wife, Todd, and my parents, they're the end tail of boomers. I thought they were Gen X too. I had no idea. I thought Gen X was like early 60s down to like late 40s, like the people's age. But I didn't. I knew y'all were Gen X. I assumed y'all were, but I always call you a boomer. And I didn't realize my parents and your wife, they are boomers. You missed the cutoff barely, Todd. You're almost a boomer.
Oh, so yeah, we had a lady come in and do a talk on it one time, and she had a whole nother category for my age group because we were really good at having Gen X and boomers. Like we were a good median for them.
What's that? Do you remember the name?
They couldn't understand. I can't, but they couldn't understand a lot of each other. And I kind of have points from both. Like I have to have a list for everything. And there's a file for everything. It's a lot of boomer stuff in my repertoire.
Well, you add so boomerish. That's why it just rolls off my tongue. Like, okay, boomer, whenever you're doing something. Hey, Josh, show me how to do that on my phone. Okay, boomer.
I appreciate you including me in that wonderful generation.
Absolutely. You're the best people ever. And most of our audience. I love boomers. You're the best. Anyway, all the small talk, all that stuff out of the way. I do have 3 questions. And the first one, it was actually emailed to me. I was going to say it's a voicemail, but this is always an option too, guys, for a $25 gift card. Record it on your own. Some people have done it by video, or some people just send me the audio. Our buddy Robert from Colorado sent me an MP3, and let me find it. And here we go. Robert from Colorado.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. This is Robert from Colorado, and I have a quick question. Since setting a correct carbonation pressure for a beer in a kegerator is important for proper dispense, how do I know that the pressure gauge on my regulator is accurate? Throughout my time in the Navy, there were specially trained crew members who calibrated all the gauges and meters on the submarines where I served. However, I can't find any gauge calibration tools for beer dispense pressure gauges. So Josh, since I know you're really running things at Keg Connection, please help me out and make sure this question makes it on the next show. Cheers to you all. Take care. Out here.
I almost had to edit that last part out because I don't want liability, but he was just sucking up to me. He meant me presenting the question to you guys. So since Todd is the regulator man, James, I'm going to throw it to him first. Why isn't there? I couldn't actually answer it because I don't know how you would post-production calibrate it at the consumer level, like at home.
So the answer to your question is no. And the reason is because they're very inexpensive gauges. They have a plus or minus of a percentage. I think it's 5% or something like that. And they're just not designed to be calibrated. You're talking about a gauge that costs like $8, and one on a submarine is probably hundreds of dollars, particularly if our government's paying for it. And it's it's liquid filled, and it's a very precise machine. And how do you know it's accurate? I can tell you it's probably not. So but accuracy is for a submarine is super important. If you're off a PSI on beer, it's not gonna kill you. That's why I always say I usually put mine at 11 PSI because some people use 10, some people use 12. If you put it at 11, you're either probably at 10, 11, or 12. So it's not a super accurate gauge. If we had to have super accurate calibrated gauges on regulators, instead of them costing $59, they'd cost $159. So it's just not feasible.
Right. You're saying the precision isn't necessary to that degree when it comes to what we're using it for. But James, we're the only real regular issues I see isn't necessarily out of the box precision not being there as much as creep, like it going up. When regular,
he's asking about gauges. That has
that would be showing the creep. And I was going to say, how would you know that you're having creep if it not being displayed on the gauge? He's talking about the pressure gauge. He's not talking about the volume gauge.
Either one, it doesn't matter. But creep, having creep has nothing to do with whether or not your gauge is precise. I mean, if your gauge is off by 5 PSI and you have creep, you're still going to see the creep.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, okay. I wasn't trying to
it's just going to be 5 PSI off.
Okay. Gotcha. So, but it is, I'll try to wrap this up with a relevant question. I promise, not just trying to drag it out after I promised not to drag stuff out. When we have these manufactured, the the product per se. Is it safe to say they're all to some standard of reliability where you're saying one or two, but how in theory would you know it's just one or two off? It's not 10 to 15 off.
You wouldn't.
Okay. That is the answer. There is no way of knowing. I mean,
you'd have to have a manifold with a bunch of gauges and then know that you're at a certain pounds per square inch and see what the variance is. I would argue 2 to 3 between. You could have a bank of 10 and they would all read within 2 or 3 pounds of each other.
That's incredible. But it would be wild if you have a bank of 10 and they're all over the place.
And then maybe not. You just never know. You don't know. They have to produce those things fairly quick. Yeah. So their method, their process, their manufacturing process has the best. It's the best balance between speed and accuracy in the production. And as you spend, like Todd said, as they spend more and more money on the gauges, and they get to where you can actually calibrate them, the drives the price up. So
our buddy Trond listens, and I know because he's a mad scientist, he's going to one day come out with the $250 regulator. It'll be medically calibrated. He'll be like, you can trust it, but it's going to be like $200. Because like you said, Todd, that is, it would be over-engineered for the use case that it's going to be used for, rather. Like it would just be over-engineered. You're saying in confidence, specifically the CM Becker ones, and I would say Taprite too, because that's a very top-tier brand. Those are reliable enough to trust that you're within a couple PSI. It's not going to be, I put it at 10 and oh my God.
They rate it as percentage, but yeah.
Right. Well,
plus or minus percentage.
Right. I just was speaking in simple terms because I'm a simple man. But okay, so Robert, I hope we somewhat answered it, and that's a great question too, though, because there could be someone out there who's like, actually, here's how I test it, or whatever, or maybe you're totally wrong, and in the future when I play your feedback, we tell you you're totally wrong. But if you have a comment and you're watching at youtube.com/Homebrew Happy Hour, leave it in the comments below. That helps the algorithm. While you're there, hit like, maybe subscribe to the channel. You don't have to if you don't want people to know. You don't want us showing up in your watch history. I get that, but you should do that, or call it in to 325-305-6107. When I use your feedback on a future episode, get yourself a $25 gift card, much like our buddy Robert from Colorado did. Moving on to question number 2. It's a text message to that same hotline, which gets you a $15 gift card. Our buddy Rick from Georgia, a bunch of R names. Rick from Georgia wrote, what techniques do you use to achieve a consistent and well-balanced hop aroma in an IPA while minimizing bitterness? How do you calculate and adjust for alpha acid content of your hops to achieve the desired bitterness level in your homebrew? James, I'm going to throw it to you because first off, the answer is I don't. I just follow directions. I don't achieve this.
It's like I can't remember when I even brewed an IPA.
But you at least know, but you understand the fundamentals. You, for God's sake, you were hophead. I remember those days. You were, so.
Well, I would first and foremost get on Brewer's Friend, download their brewing software, and utilize that because it's real simple. The longer you boil the hops, the more bitterness units get converted. And the shorter is more flavor, and the even shorter, including Whirlpool, is aromatic. So it's real simple. The longer you boil it, the more bitter it is, the less you add, or I'm talking about the hop additions. So typically when we do a batch of beer, we do a 60, a 15, or a 5, and then maybe a flame out or a Whirlpool. And those late additions are for flavor and aroma, and the first additions for bitterness. Got to have a little bitterness. Because that's what makes beer smell and taste like beer.
Absolutely. I was trying to pull up my notes because I actually did. I did a little bit of homework because we've gotten this question more or less before from people. And like I'd mentioned at the top of the show with the grapefruit pale ale and the Mosaic Smash, I think was this way too. We did not do a single hop addition for the full boil. And they call it hop bursting. We just did it at, I think on this last one, the grapefruit, the first edition's at 30 and then 15 and then flame out and then dry hop as well. So like you said, late hop additions is obviously the way to go if you're trying not to bring bitterness from what you're doing.
Just keep it at 15 or less at the end of the boil because you can convert, you can start this is never been an issue for me because I'm so
what you brewing?
adamant about not having super bitter beer. But there's lots of resources online, a lot of hop calculators. But I can tell you, Todd probably has brewed more IPAs than I ever will. So he's probably the guy to ask about that.
What I was going to throw to you too, boss man, was I had heard through my 5 seconds of Googling that first wort hopping is another technique people will use to achieve aroma flavor without the bitterness. You did first wort hopping. What was the batch and what was the results?
What was the batch? I think it actually wasn't it.
It was the Versteiner clone.
Yeah, the Versteiner clone. Yeah.
Oh, so not really relevant.
I did it on my last pills. I did first wort.
Yeah,
because knowing it would bring less bitterness but more flavor. That's that.
No, I just wanted to recreate what he did.
Oh.
He made an amazing beer, so I was trying to follow everything except I didn't do the mash, the step mashing that he did. So it didn't turn out like his. So,
well, one of the nice things on Brewer's Friend is that, and probably a lot of other programs, is you can change the alpha acid, so you know exactly what bitters you're going to get. So you look on your bag. It'll tell you what the alpha acid is and you change it. So then you know exactly how bitter it's going to be because it'll give you the bittering units. As far as the aroma, that's harder. I mean, you basically find a very aromatic hop that you want, and you don't, like James was saying, you just don't want to boil it very long, and then you're going to get that aroma. Or you could do a first hop, but you can, most people are going to put one in at the very end, or even after they're, once they're starting to cool things down, to flame out. So,
well, James, correct me if I'm wrong. If you were trying to do a full boiled hop addition, choosing a style of hops that was low on the alpha acid would also help in regards to not bringing a lot of bitterness, or you're saying don't even do it.
Alpha acids are the fuel for the bittering units. So the higher the number, the higher the bittering units. The lower the number, the lower the bittering units. And one thing that's super important that Todd mentioned is when you guys are calculating your bittering, make sure you go by what it says on the hop bag and not the general alpha acids
for that style.
Because sometimes you may not get that information, but we've seen it swing wild. So if you're trying to recreate a style and it says, you need 2 ounces of Cascade at the 60 and Cascade at 4.5 alpha acid, and the bag that you have is 2.5 or 3. I'm just spitballing, but it's going to affect the way that recipe turns out. In bittering units, you're not going to match that recipe. So, like Todd said, you've got to look in the bag, and that's the number. That's the most important number you want to plug in.
And that is why. So last year, I don't know if you remember, Todd, because you yell at me all the time and just forget about it. You didn't yell at me, but last year you got after me. Or maybe it was 2 years ago. Whenever I started taking over doing the hops. Oh gosh, that was like 2 years ago. It was right before COVID, wasn't it? No, it wasn't. It was like 2020. Either way,
it doesn't matter.
It was a long time ago. And you saw me bagging hops, and you're like, all I was writing was the name of the hop on the bag. You're like, you're not including the volume, and you're not including the alpha acid. I go, yeah, they're fine. You were like, they have to know the alpha acid, dude. I go, no, it's our kids. They're fine. He goes, no, they need to know the alpha acid. You're supposed to write that down. And I was like, we didn't make a $5 bet, but I was super cocky of like, how much could it be that different from if they got, Citra and it says 13 on that bag, I'll just write 13 on all of them. And that's not the case. Like some of them are 10, some of them are 12, some of them. And when you plug that into Brewer's Friend or whatever software you're using, it makes a difference. Turns out Josh learned like it does make a difference.
Wow. You listened to me and learned something. I'm so impressed.
Well, yeah,
I feel better about myself.
Like a dog beat into obedience. Yeah. Which does, well, another one of my favorite stories. Whenever I saw, was it Charlie or Milo many years ago that got into the chickens, and you beat it into him to not mess with the chickens.
I tied a dead chicken to him.
That's what it was.
But he didn't get in them ever again.
Yeah, he didn't.
Wow.
Yeah, see, good boy. You're a good boy. I just have to. Anyways, But yeah, like James had said, and like Todd reiterated too, there's a lot of different methods. I actually am working on an article for homebrewhappyhour.com to kind of go at a surface level on those techniques, because I thought it was a good question, and I felt bad too because oh gosh, I gotta get back into the show notes. What it wasn't Rick from Georgia actually submitted it that day that we were interviewing Horst, and I didn't see it on my phone because I was just starting to set up for the interview and all that. He meant for it to go to Horst, and so I was like, oh, I'll take it for this show, and if he stumps us, I'm not going to do anything special because it missed out. But Rick, thank you so much for submitting the question, and again, soliciting you guys, if you're watching at youtube.com/homebrew happy hour, leave it below. How do you achieve consistent and well-balanced hop aroma in your IPAs while minimizing bitterness? Oh, the second part, my bad, James. How do you calculate and adjust for the alpha acid content of your hops? You just do it in the calculator, right? On Brewers?
Yeah, that's the only way you can. I mean, there's some math involved, but I don't want to do math. I'd rather just punch the numbers in.
You're my brother, because we are living in the best time ever. I don't mind romanticizing things. It's fun sometimes, but this idea of like, it's not real brewing if you don't X, Y, Z, or if you do use automated programs or this. No, bros, if you're making good beer, it's brewing. I don't care. Like, you should utilize the calculators available to you. We have some, but our go-to is definitely Brewer's Friend. For brew day stuff, my dad and I still use the built-in app for Grainfather just because it's syncing with our machine. Brewer's Friend, I don't think is integrated yet into systems. If they did that, that would be next level for me. But yeah. But
when you go into Brewer's Friend, you have to punch in the grains, the hops, the yeast, how long, on each one. It's gonna calculate that IBUs.
And the more data you give it, the more expectations you can have realistically, where, like what Todd was saying, why you need to input the alpha acid is so the IBUs for your beer. Don't just wing it, because there are defaults on all these calculators. Brewfather, Brewer's Friend, Grainfather. There are where you could just pick Citra and it's going to go, oh, the average is 11.5 and put that in. But if your bag says 13, put 13 in your calculator. Let it calculate to be accurate. That way your numbers are right. And same with even with the malt. Oh, I didn't even think about that. Does the levy bond change on malt that much, James? Like, does the batch of Planet we have now change from any Planet we get in the future from Muntins? That's a question.
I guess it's possible, but I don't think it's enough to worry about.
Okay, I'll say, because that's the only one I can think of where I've never thought to change the levy bond, because now people will be like, and now it's going to be information overload. Anyway, that's another question for another time. Leave your voicemail feedback or call in the question to 325-305-6107. If you text it like Rick did, get yourself a $15 gift card. Not that bad. I'm happy with that, you say. Or even better, you call it in, leave a voicemail, and you get yourself a $25 gift card like our third and final question of the show. I told you I'm flying through them today. It's our buddy Pierre from California. What was that?
Oh, I shouldn't have interrupted you right there, but...
That's the gong of interruption. Go ahead.
I was just going to mention that I did look up gauges because I was curious after our conversation. Mm-hmm. And a gauge that we would sell that's like $8, you can buy one that's been certified by a national certification organization. And the one I found that was certified was $248.
Jeez.
That's so stupid.
$248.60 to have NIST Cal certification.
I would rather honestly go the opposite route and have no gauge and just wing it off of a quarter turn than to pay $250 for a gauge.
That's good. I like that.
That's so funny. Silly. Anyways, our third and final question. It is our buddy Pierre from California.
Hey, y'all, this is Pierre from California, and I wanted to first say I'm a huge fan of the show, and it's something I look forward to every week. So my question is, what's the most economical way to convert my CO2 regulator and manifold barb connections to DuoTight? I had a few brews kind of on tap at my party the other day and realized how bulky my line setup was. Any suggestions on what fittings to get or am I making a mistake switching to, EVA barrier or EVA barrier lines? Yeah, keep up the great work, y'all, and thank you.
I brought it because this topic is, I wouldn't say it's sensitive, but we have opinions on it, especially Mr. Burns. I have, I will, let me open it before giving the floor to you guys and throwing it to Todd. I have seen a lot of buyer's remorse after a year or so, like especially Reddit, and we have this love-hate relationship. I know Reddit, please don't hate me as much as you do, but there are people who post about it a year later and like, man, the components are just too cheap, or, oh, I accidentally left the sanitizer in it just a minute too long and it totally, I mean, it seems like some of these components, Todd, from DuoTight, while they are economical at the front end of the purchase, are not the utopian solution for the long term of a draft beer system. So with that being said, and my sort of, nicer surface level commentary on it, what do you think about, Pierre, first off, switching to DuoTight? Is that the ideal thing you do to resolve bulky setup in your kegerator?
So if you don't mind, I'm going to answer his question first, and then I'll give my opinion.
Perfect.
If you've got it, like you bought an air manifold from us and you bought a regulator from us, almost all of our components have male flare fittings. The exception is on the air distributor. The default is a barb because that's what most people want, but you can get it with an MFL as well. And if you didn't and you need to convert it, you can take that barb off and put an MFL barb on instead. And then everything on the air side is now MFL, and they make an adapter. In fact, I have one in my hand here. They make an adapter that screws on to MFL fittings. All right. And then that way you can now go right into the hose here and the hose over there, and you could take off that wonderful dual durometer NSF rated commercial hose and replace it with hose that's none of those things. So that was kind of my opinion.
That was a nice little dig.
Hey, facts are facts.
well, yeah. So I would, this is what I would say. If that's what you want to do, then do it. That's great. What I wouldn't personally use it because we would never use it in a commercial application because it doesn't have any certifications. It's not NSF rated. It's not FDA. I mean, it's not something that and it's also not very durable if it in a commercial type situation. So, these things are used a lot. They're used in RO systems, and DuoTight became this really big new thing, but it's a very old thing. It's John Guest. It's been used in Europe forever, and the Europeans love it, to be fair. So, I mean, maybe it is, but the particular components that people call DuoTight and the hose that's usually sold with that is not. I don't know that it has any ratings. It doesn't list any ratings, and it doesn't have any ratings stamped on it. So that always makes me a little nervous. And it is not. I mean, if you have a system that's been built and it's got metal stainless steel barbs or even brass barbs on some gas components, and you've got a dual durometer, which means you've got a very hard center and a soft outside with almost any of the hose that's used. The one we sell is called Bevlex, and it is NSF rated, National Sanitation Foundation, I think is what that stands for. James, am I saying that right?
NSF is, that might be, I don't know.
It's, anyway, everybody just knows it's an NSF. If it's got a lot of stuff you'll find has those ratings. Even in a restaurant, even sometimes silverware will have it on the back. So,
does it really?
National Science Found. No, that's not it.
That's a different NSF.
There is one there. So yeah. I would say that a lot of people like it. And there's nothing wrong with using it. We sell it because people want to use it. But the hose and the components and everything that are used in the industry as kind of a standard I think are more durable. They're going to last longer, and you know what you're getting. So I've used it in certain situations for certain things, but if I had a system that was already made the way that yours is made, I don't know that I would. Well, I do know I would not switch it over personally.
Right.
But that doesn't mean you can't. It just, that's my opinion.
Yeah. And not even kidding. You're right. We wouldn't sell it if we absolutely didn't believe in its usability. Like because we don't do that. We don't care. Like there's a lot of regulators on the market that you specifically don't sell on Keck Connection, Todd, because you don't believe in their reliability. So it's not a reliability issue. We're dogging on it in good fun and all that. But brand new people listening, we're not just infomercialing you like they're garbage. No. Use them if you want. But
no, they're not garbage. I mean, they're just. Yes. I mean, I was when they first came out and it first came in, I was kind of like, oh, this stuff's kind of cool. I'm gonna put together this. I'm gonna put together that. And over time, I just kind of soured on it.
Well, and actually, funny enough, our buddy Robert from the first question, remember he actually had a build for us earlier this year, or was it last year? Time flies, and I'm bad at measuring it and gauging it. But remember, he had the bank of secondaries because DuoTight makes it's visually very cool, and you put their secondaries on all that. In hindsight, man, those GovReds resolve that issue of secondary pressure much better and as literally ergonomical as possible for a draft system installation. You don't get more space saving than you do with an inline secondary. Instead of having
very, very consistent too. That's what I like. So
they are very consistent.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we don't know. Y'all told me we could never know. know. Who knows the truth? No, they are very consistent.
By the way, it stands for National Sanitation Foundation.
Hey, okay, you were right.
I had to look that up because it literally didn't even state it on the website.
It done on their own. That's hilarious. It's like those phone companies back then where Southwestern Bell became SBC, but then that was supposed to be Southwestern Bell Corporation, but then eventually they go, no, we're just SBC now. And so people are like, oh yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what they've done.
That's what they've done.
They changed their name to NSF, which is
nothing. It
stands for National Sanitation Foundation.
Gobbledygook, man. The whole world is gobbledygook. I do want to bring up the disconnects with you, James. I know you're partial because of what you do for a living, but I want to say the only thing I've heard people say about the DuoTight, why they choose them sometimes, is the low clearance. Now, on one guy, he had pinlock heads, so I was able to direct him to the low profile Pinlock disconnects, which he went with and has been super happy. And really, too, a little side rant for 10 seconds. I like Pinlock heads, guys, because I can't put the wrong disconnect on the wrong post. It's a godsend when I have Pinlock disconnects sometimes because I'm an idiot and I don't always look at the markings or the notchings on a ball lock keg. Either way, though, the clearance isn't even that much, though, is it? Between like the reliability of the product is probably what you would recommend before unless it's absolutely crucial to save that a little bit amount of space that you do.
Well, I can tell you a couple of things about between the DuoTight disconnect and the CM Backer is one, you have to have a tool to take the CM Backer one apart. And somebody say, well, that's not a bonus, but I think it is actually, because anytime you have nuts that you can take off with your hand or over time, those tend to loosen up. And also the cap on the top, it's got ridges on it so that you can grab it. I'm talking about the DuoTight, but with our disconnect, it sets flush. Once we have to have a screwdriver. The girls that assemble the disconnects, they have set air screwdrivers at a certain pressure, and each one is put together at the same tolerance. The cap or the lid is what we call it, sets flush once it's tightened up. So there's no chance of that backing off. I understand the argument with clearance, but you've got to understand that our disconnects have been in the market for decades. And I think they're industry standard. I'll tell you this, they're a lot harder to get crossed up between gas and liquid with ours than a Chinese knockoff of our disconnects. We've had, and Todd can back me up on this. We've had samples come in and you can just switch posts, and that's just shows the tolerances aren't quite as tight as what we maintain on our disconnects.
Yeah, and to elaborate, when James says a tool to take it out, it's a screwdriver. Like it's not proprietary, because people clean their CM Becker disconnects all the time when they have to.
Yeah. But just the point I was trying to make is you actually have to have a tool to take it
it's
apart.
Not easy. It's not
a flat head screwdriver, but
yeah.
You don't with the DuoTight, and that works good in the short term. But over time, I don't know how durable that is.
No, I'm with you. And also, too, if it loosens from you handling or whatever and creates just the smallest amount of a leak, that's the worst way to find out you had a leak, whether you come up to your kegerator the next morning and there's beer everywhere, or nothing's pouring because you're out of gas. That is, I don't, and I'm not making the claim, friends watching this, that the tightness of the top is what causes leaks, as much as I'm saying I've observed on Homebrew Talk, and I've observed mostly on Reddit, people having leaking issues over time with their DuoTights, but even more so than the DuoTights, because I don't want to just pick on them. It's Pierre's question. That's why I'm saying this about DuoTight. The Chinese imports that James is also talking about that look very similar to CMB ones that they just took the mold or try to take the mold and recreate it. Those are absolute garbage reliability, almost as bad as the Regulators. If you're a kind of person who wants to shop on Amazon, friend, just do your homework, please, because there's so much garbage on Amazon. And we have stuff on Amazon, so I'm not saying that as a platform. I'm just saying Amazon doesn't vet anybody.
Well, here's what I would tell everybody out there looking for CMB. We have run into a lot of instances where they use a picture of our product and they'll sell you a Chinese product. So just watch out for that. Make sure that if you're wanting a CMB, the genuine article, make sure that they are selling that and not, because we have run into that before.
We have. Yeah, and if you get one and it's their photo and their description says CMB and you get it and it doesn't say CMB and it doesn't say NSF rated, then I would return that. I wouldn't keep it because
you would return it. You mean you would return it? Yeah,
that's what I said.
Yeah. Oh, we had issues in Amazon with that very thing.
We did. Yeah. And it happens all the time because, again, some people, there's a real big hustle culture across the world of I have passive income and it's my internet store. And all it really is they go on AliExpress and they bulk buy and then they list it on eBay or Amazon or Walmart. Remember, Todd, we had really bad counterfeit issues on the Walmart platform a few years ago where it was they were just branding stuff as CM Becker. They were branding stuff as Keg Connection and it wasn't us. And then people were giving Keg Connection bad reviews online this stuff's garbage. And the woes of
Alibaba's. I've noticed Alibaba's got CM Becker disconnects, but I would bet you a beer that probably not.
I'm not taking that bet, and I'm the worst at betting. I wouldn't even take that bet because 100% they're not real. Yeah, people. Yeah, just do your homework. And like James said, that they're stamped. You'll know when you get the real genuine thing. Until they get that
even
stamp.
have an NSF logo on them too.
Yep. Absolutely. So, Pierre, yes, there are doing it like how Todd mentioned. There are adapters already made. I'll put it in the show notes below where you can click there and see all the DuoTight fittings that we carry at Keg Connection. But if you have a system from us, like Todd was saying, that has the threaded disconnects, it's very simple to switch over. And then the push-in stuff for the EVA tubing, it just goes right in. And when you need to replace that tubing, you push and pull, and then you're good to go, and everything is dandy. Or, hear me out, if you already have a threaded system, just make use of that conveniently threaded system and just replace the tubing on your swivel nut, take that off, put it on the new tubing. It's really not that much longer to do. And like Todd said, I'm a huge fan too of the dual durometer hose, the tubing. It seems to be long lasting, and I don't even clean my lines like Todd does every 2 weeks. My dad's listening going, you never clean our lines. My dad cleans them once a month, which is still probably more than the average bear, to be fair. And he might actually comment down below and go, actually, it's once every other month, son. But my point being that hose, that tubing goes a long way if you take care of it, even the slightest definition of the word. So thank you, Pierre, for submitting your voicemail. The final and last plea, my friends, if you want to get yourself a $25 gift card to kegconnection.com, call it in, leave a voicemail to 325-305-6107, and I will happily give you $25 of Todd's money. It's not a sustainable long-term business plan, but I've been riding the coaster pretty smooth.
Yeah, I'm still trying to recover from your horse episode. You gave away like more than we sold that day on the website.
It's true. Yeah, I gave it away. I actually updated my LinkedIn profile after that episode. So anyways, guys, I appreciate y'all's time. I did, I dragged it out a little, but we're like at the 50-minute mark. That's pretty good for me.
It's good.
Pretty good. So I appreciate y'all's time, guys, and I will see y'all soon.
Enjoyed it.
See ya.
And that will do it for this episode of the Homebrew Happy Hour. If you have a question you'd like us to discuss on a future episode, you could email me, joshua@homebrewhappyhour.com. But even better, call it in. Leave a voicemail to 325-305-6107, and I will give you more of Todd's money. Thank you to our show sponsors like Muntons Malt Premium Grains for a better brew day. If you aren't already brewing with Muntons, you could give them a try by joining a recipe receiving tier of the Trub Club. For the best hops available online, give our friends at hopsdirect.com a visit and pick up what you need for your next brew day. Also, get a pack of Imperial yeast along with delicious recipes from us when you join the Trub Club. Again, my friend, I say go to patreon.com/homebrew happy hour and come brew with us. On behalf of Todd Burns, James Carlson, and the Pearl Media Network, I'm Joshua Stubing. Thanks for listening.